Hi, hello, and welcome to yet another session of English online classes. It's been a long time since we met before, and yeah, it has been a long time. Yes, so I hope all of you are doing well, and really wishing and praying for your better health and everything. Okay, so how are you all doing? Hope that you are all doing fine. I'm also doing fine, thank you. So we'll begin our lesson for today, and today's lesson is about a trap or a rat trap seller, peddler. Okay, that is the rat trap. So we are dealing with a very beautiful lesson over here, a very meaningful lesson. At the end of the story, there is a beautiful lesson to be learned for all of us. And today's scenario, it is a very apt lesson too. So uh, how it is associated with today's scenario, we will look into that all. Okay. So before we go into the lesson, we have to talk about the author of this book. Okay, and it's a lady, and the story is happening in Sweden. Okay, and the author is from Sweden herself, and Selma Lagerlöf. It is Lagerlöf. It is Lagerlöf. Okay, Selma Lagerlöf. She was born in 1858 and she died in 1940. Okay, much before than we all were born, right? Okay, and there are many special things about Selma Lagerlöf, as her name is pronounced. Okay, Lagerlöf. Selma Ottilia Lovisa Lagerlöf was born on 20th November 1858 and she died on March 1940. Was a Swedish author and teacher. Okay, she published her first novel, while that is Gustav Berling's Saga. Okay, Gustav Berling's Saga. At the age of 33, when she was 33, she published her first book. Okay, and most of her book are dealing with what do you say, human kindness and the follies and or what do you say, the falls of men. Okay, and human beings as it is, not men. Men I generally spoke about. And as human beings, how we come at how we are at fault, and how that fault can be overcome by human kindness and caring and all these things. Okay, most of her books or works are dealing with this aspect. So her theme over here it is written, writer whose stories have been translated into many languages. A universal theme runs through all of them, and that theme is a belief that the essential goodness in a human being can be awakened through understanding and love. So each and every one of us is having a what do you say? Essential goodness is there inside each and every one of us, and it's from a certain deeds we can bring this goodness inside the human being out. Okay, we can bring that out. Understanding and love. Through understanding and love, we can bring these things out. That is what the theme. Okay, universal theme that runs through every one of her works. Okay, this story is set amidst the mines of Sweden, rich in iron ore, which figure large in the history and legends of that country. Once, Sweden was considered to be one of the largest suppliers of iron. Okay, throughout iron ore throughout the world. Okay, so this story happens in a place where it was the heart of iron ore industry in Sweden. Okay, legends of the country. The story is told somewhat in the manner of a fairy tale. ഒരു ഫെയറി ടെയിലിനെ പോലെയാണ് ഈ കഥ മുമ്പോട്ടേക്ക്. അപ്പോൾ സെൽമ ലാഗലൂഫിനെ കുറിച്ച് നമുക്ക് കൂടുതൽ മനസ്സിലാക്കേണ്ടതുണ്ട്. ആൻഡ് സെൽമ ലാഗലൂഫ്, യു മസ്റ്റ് അണ്ടർസ്റ്റാൻഡ്, ഓക്കെ, വാസ് ദ ഫസ്റ്റ് female Nobel Prize winner in literature. ആദ്യത്തെ നൊബേൽ പ്രൈസ് ലഭിച്ച ലേഡി എന്ന ബഹുമതി കൂടി സെൽമ ലാഗർലോഫിനുണ്ട്. She was the first woman to win the Nobel Prize in Literature, which she was awarded in 1909. Additionally, she was the first woman to be granted a membership in the Swedish Academy in 1940. That is about Selma Lagerlöf. So this is a translated work, and it has been translated very beautifully, catching all the essence of the writer and what she wanted to convey. Everything has been taken as it is from the original and has been converted into English over here. Okay, so we'll go into the text, and I'll be sharing the text for you all to see, and we will deal with the lesson as well as the difficult words that come in between all these things. Okay, so I'll just share the text for you right now. So, Selma Lagerlöf, as we already learned about her, she is Swedish. She is a Swedish writer, and she writes mainly of people, the turmoil that happens inside a person, and how he overcomes that turmoil inside him with kindness and love and understanding all these things from others. Okay, the rat trap. That is the name of the lesson. Okay, so notice these expressions in the text infer their meaning from the context. While reading the context, you have to infer the meaning of these expressions. It'll help you a little bit, and you can also do that. Okay, keep body and soul together. From that itself, we can our context we can understand some of its meaning. Keep body and soul together. Body and soul together. If the soul leaves the body or the body leaves the soul, what happens? Right? Hunger gleamed in his eye. That we will come. Okay, when the context we will read it. Plods along the road. Plod. The word plod has been described before too. I think it was in the lesson Deep Water. Right? So we know the meaning of the word plod. Right? So along with that, plod along the road. From that itself, we can understand that he's dragging oneself. Right? So dragging oneself. Unwanted joy. Unwanted alla, not unwanted, unwanted. It is not that. It is unwanted, WONTED, unwanted joy. I also will come will deal with it when we reach the context. Okay, impenetrable prison. Prison is a place where we are put inside if we do something wrong. Right? There is no escape from prison. That's it. Nodded a hearty consent. Okay, we have to deal with that in the context. Eased his way. Eased his way. What means ease? At ease. Stand at ease. Attention. Stand at ease. Right? What is meant by ease then? As it is. Right? As you were. You don't have to be stiff and like this. You don't have to sit like that or stand like that, abrupt and stiff and like this. No, you don't have to do like that. As you were. That is what it is, right? Ease his ways, going along on his own, right? Apna apna marzi par jaane ke liye. That is what ease his way. Fallen into a line of thought. Fallen into a line of thought. Line of thought. One line of thought. How do you stand in a line? One after the other, right? In a chronological order, you stand there, right? Stand in a line. When you are asked to stand in a line in school, when you are going to the assembly, what happens is you stand according to the height, right, distance. So there is a chronological order in standing in a line, not standing in a queue, right? Standing in a line. The difference between a queue and a line is totally different. In a queue, you don't look at the height progressiveness or anything like that, right? Don't look at the height difference. You don't look at the age difference, you don't look at the color difference, or you don't take one arm length and all. Stand in a queue, right? Just stand in a queue. Go and stand in a queue. In a line, when you form a line, there are some rules to be in a line, right? So take fallen into a line of thought means systematically think about something, right? Things have gone downhill. Yes. Have you seen a heart rate ECG? Huh? Have you seen a heart rate ECG? When it is a flat line, what happens? The person is right. Okay. Things have gone downhill. What is meant by downhill? It has gone something wrong, right? It's gone all. That's what things have gone downhill. So we'll discuss more about all these phrases when we reach that context that it has been used. Okay, we'll start the lesson. Once upon a time, there was a man who went around selling small rat traps of wire. Oh, before that, oh, I always forget. I always forget. Uh, I'll just share Selma Lagerlöf's picture so you can understand her a little. Right? This is Selma Lagerlöf. Okay, Lagerlöf, 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 Selma Lagerlöf. That is how you pronounce it. The way it has written in the textbook, it is simplified English so that we can understand. But it is not like that. The O will have two dots on top. Okay, Luf it is Luf, Lef. If you write it Lef, Lef, pronounce like this. Selma Lagerlöf. Okay, this is Selma Lagerlöf. So this is what I wanted to share for you. Okay, so this is Selma Lagerlöf. Okay, then I'll share something else now. There are several things to share to you. Okay, I'll share all those things. Don't worry. So that's Selma Lagerlöf. You guys. Okay, let's move on to the lesson. Once upon a time. So it is. We already know that the story has been told somewhat in a manner of a fairy tale, right? So here she starts by saying, "Once upon a time." Yes, we have read so many fairy tales in our yesteryears. We know how a long, long time ago how a fairy tale starts, right? Once upon a time, it's like a fairy tale, but this fairy tale has a very deeper meaning. Okay, in it. Let's see what that meaning is. Once upon a time, there was a man who went around selling small rat traps of wire. He made them himself at odd moments from the material he got by begging in the stores or at the big farms. But even so, business was not especially profitable. So he had to resort to both begging and petty thievery to keep body and soul together. Even so, his clothes were in rags, his cheeks were sunken, and hunger gleamed in his eyes. Straight away, we are introduced to the main character, the rat trap seller. Okay, a person, he is trying to make his ends meet, which means he's trying to make his life sustain. Okay, is driven into poverty. He doesn't have anything good to do, so he is trying to live a meager life by selling rat traps. And how does he make his rat trap? It's made of wire and other substances that he begged from different houses, places, by begging in stores, houses, big farms. He collects all these things. Rack picker, just like a rack picker, he goes to houses and farms and establishments and stores and asks for waste materials. And he collects all these waste materials, and with these waste materials, he makes the rat traps and he goes around selling them. Okay, those days exterminators were not there, So nowadays there are exterminators, but those days there were no exterminators, so they had to resort to people in those times had to resort to such things, rat traps. Have you seen a rat trap? You might have seen it, right? Your houses, in our houses, there are so many rat traps. I think you might have seen it. Okay. Of wire, especially made of wire. Nowadays, there are many. You might have seen Tom and Jerry, right? I hope that you all have seen Tom and Jerry. And in Tom and Jerry, always Tom tries to catch Jerry with lots and lots of rat traps. So this is a wired rat trap. Okay, and I'll just share it so that you can see a rat trap. It's a crude rat trap made up of wires. Okay, you can from itself you can understand. It's a very crude looking device. Rats will enter through this opening. It will be open and bait will be kept inside it. Bait, bait, bait. It means things that are kept to lure a prey. Okay, so here either cheese or any meat, or usually over here in India, Kerala especially, we keep coconut, right? Coconut. Such things are kept inside the trap, and the rat enters and pulls the bait, and he is trapped. He or she is trapped inside the cage. So the rat trap. This is a rat. Okay. So this rat trap he makes himself, and with things he collects from different places, and with these things he creates a rat trap and he sells these rat trap to sustain his life. Okay, so that was what he was doing. But even so, the business was not especially profitable. In those times too, this business was not profitable at all, because once you buy a rat trap, it will stay for long, right? Huh? Unless and until it is broken, people don't take effort to buy a new rat trap, right? So this thing was not a profitable business. So he had to resort to both begging and petty thievery to keep body and soul together, to make his ends meet, in order to sustain his life, in order to keep his body and soul together, which means keep himself alive. To keep himself alive, he tries several other methods too. Not only selling this rat trap, but he resorts to some other methods too. Begging. One is begging. Please give me some money in order to sustain my life. Begging. And the other one was thievery. Okay. Pity, thievery. ചെറിയ ചെറിയ കള്ളങ്ങൾ അതാണ് pity, thievery. Okay. And begging. Bhikshadara. Two things that he resorted to. Okay. So he was a peddler, he was a seller, he was a hawker, he was a beggar, and he also was a thief, a petty thief. Even so, his clothes were in rags, his cheeks were sunken, and hunger gleamed in his eyes. Notable, even so, after doing all these things, begging, petty thievery, and selling the rat traps, he was still a very desolate man. Okay, he was a very poor man. Even so, his clothes were in rags. Rags, we learned that word rags in the previous chapters too, right? And his cheeks were sunken. His cheeks were sunken, and hunger gleamed in his eyes. Hunger gleamed. Okay, what is meant by gleamed? Of an emotional quality be expressed through the brightness of a person's eyes. It is always positive. It's a positive word, gleam. തിളങ്ങുക എന്നതാണ് മലയാളത്തിലെ കണ്ണുകൾ തിളങ്ങുക. പക്ഷേ over here it is hunger that is gleaming in his eyes. So a negative word is added along with a positive word in order to drive one meaning to us. Hunger was always gleaming in his eyes. His eyes were sparkling, or his eyes were glittering with hunger. It was evident in his eyes that he was hunger stricken. So this is called a oxymoron. Okay, oxymoron. Oxymoron is a figure of speech in which two apparently contradictory terms appear together. Examples include a deafening silence, harmonious discord, an open secret, and the living dead. The day of the living dead. Right? The name there is a the living dead. There is a movie called The Living Dead. Zombies. Right? Zombies. Now the word is living dead. The living dead. Two contradictory statements. Hunger gleamed. Hunger is a negative word and gleamed is a positive word. Right? So together they come together and it's an oxymoron. Hunger gleamed in his eyes. Okay. So this is hunger gleamed in his eyes. No one can imagine how sad and monotonous life can appear to such a vagabond who plods along the road left to his own meditations. One day, this man had fallen into a line of thought which really seemed to him entertaining. See, look at here. We have been introduced to the rat trap seller. So first he was introduced as a person selling small rat traps. Then he was introduced as a beggar. Okay. Then he was introduced as a petty thief. Okay. So these things we have been shown a picture of a person who is very poor, who is hunger stricken, and who is trying to make his ends meet. Okay, all these things he is doing over there. Okay, now no one can imagine how sad and monotonous life can appear to such a vagabond who plods along the road left to his own meditations. Okay, vagabond. What is a vagabond? A person who doesn't have a permanent shelter. Person. That's called vagabond. A person who wanders from place to place without a home or job. Okay. He doesn't have a place to stay. He doesn't have a permanent job. He doesn't have any shelter, food or permanent food or anything like that. He keeps on traveling from one place to another. Okay. It's called a vagabond. Gypsies. You can call them as gypsies also, right? The mads. There are several. He is not said one. He is not described in one word. Rat trap seller no, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ rat trap peddler no, അദ്ദേഹത്തിന്റെ പേര് പോലും മെൻഷൻ ചെയ്യുന്നില്ല ഇതിലേക്ക്. ഓക്കെ, ബിക്കോസ് പേരിൽ എന്തിരിക്കുന്നു എന്നുള്ളൊരു കാര്യം അവിടെ വരുന്നത്. No one can imagine how sad and monotonous life can appear to such a vagabond. What is meant by monotonous? Same, the word, from the word itself, we can infer the meaning. Mono, which means single, right? Mono, stereo. Mono, stereo. Have you heard of that? Mono and stereo. Stereo means dual channel. Mono means single channel, right? So monotonous, tone. The tone is one, only one tone in life. So only one thing in this life. It is happening again and again and again and again. Every day. Getting up for us. Now, the present scenario has given a monotonous life for all of us. Even up in the morning, doing the morning ablutions and everything, brushing your teeth, washing your face, going to the toilet, eating your breakfast, sitting in front of the laptop, learning from the laptop or the mobile, right? Nothing else. Don't go to school or you don't go to your playground, you meet your friends, no, nothing like that. You sit in your home itself, right? Monotonous. Every day the same thing repeats. So monotonous life can appear to such a vagabond. Sad. It's a sad thing. So monotonous means dull, tedious, and repetitious, lacking in variety and interest. So it is lacking in variety and interest. Nothing new happens. Everything is same. each and every day. Just think about it. The same thing we have explained in the previous lessons too. Just imagine if the whole world was one color, plants and animals and the atmosphere and the buildings and the people, all of them, one color. Very boring, right? Nothing variety is not there. There is no rainbow. Even if there is a rainbow, one color. Seven colors instead of seven colors, there is only one color. Let's think about it. How it will be. Very boring it will be, right? So boring, tedious, dull, nothing of interest, of variety. Such life is called a monotonous life. Okay, repetition. No one can imagine how sad and monotonous life can appear to such a vagabond. Such a vagabond, you can just imagine how his life will be. Sad and monotonous his life can appear to such a vagabond. A person who travels, he doesn't have any wanders from place to place, who plods along the road left to his own meditations, who plods along the road, which means plods means walk doggedly and slowly with heavy steps. So he's dragging himself without any interest. He's dragging himself along the road, okay, with heavy steps. So his energy has been drained. He doesn't have any energy at all. He's dragging his body along the road, left to his own meditations. Left to one's desire means to leave someone to allow someone to do what he or she wants or is able to do without being controlled or helped by anyone else, often used as be left to one's own devices. Be left on one's own devices. മറ്റുള്ള ഒരാളുടെ സഹായമില്ലാതെ സ്വന്തം തന്നെ ജീവിക്കേണ്ട ഒരവസ്ഥ. Okay, left to his own meditations. Okay, or thinking. No one is there to share his thought or his pain or his sadness. There is no one else in his life. He is alone. He has been left to think about himself. Okay, there is no one to share. So his life was like that for several days or several years. But one day, this man had fallen into a line of thought. Okay, line of thought. Fallen into a line of thought. We discussed that. Okay. Suddenly a thought struck him. A line of thought. An idea. It struck him. But one day this man had fallen into a line of thought, a systematic way of thinking. Okay. Which really seemed to him entertaining. But that was a little bit entertaining. Even though he was sad and beaten down and he was leading a life of poverty, in his sadness too, there was something to be happy, to be entertaining. And that was a thought that came to his mind. And what was that thought? He had naturally been thinking of his rat traps when suddenly he was struck by the idea that the whole world about him, the whole world with its lands and seas, its cities and villages, was nothing but a big rat trap. It had never existed for any other purpose than to set baits for people. It offered riches and joys, shelter and food, health and heat and clothing, exactly as the rat trap offered cheese and pork. And as soon as anyone let himself be tempted to touch the bait, it closed in on him, and then everything came to an end. It was an interesting thought. Okay. Obviously, he is a rat trap seller. Okay. So he is selling his rat traps. And he was thinking about the rat trap suddenly when this thought came into his mind. Okay. He was he was dealing with rat traps. Okay, so his thoughts are always about rat traps. So while he was thinking about the rat traps that he was making, he was designing himself and he was making, suddenly this line of thought struck him. And what was that line of thought? He had naturally been thinking of his rat traps when suddenly he was struck by the idea that the whole world about him, the whole world that was surrounding him, whole environment that was around him, the whole world with its lands and seas, its cities and villages, everything included, the trees and the birds and the animals, all these things, everything included, the whole world around him was nothing but a big rat trap. For a person who is walking around begging, trying to make his ends meet by doing some begging and selling rat traps and petty thievery, believes that suddenly one day he started thinking whole world itself is a very big rat trap. So what are the baits that are inside this rat trap? It has never existed for any other purpose. And this world, with its materialistic things, it has never ever existed for only one purpose, and that purpose was to set baits for people like ഇങ്ങനെ തേരാപ്പാര നടക്കുന്ന ആൾക്കാർക്ക് ഒന്നും ചെയ്യാനില്ലാതെ ചെറിയ ചെറിയ കള്ളത്തരങ്ങളും ഭിക്ഷാടനവും ഒക്കെ ആയി നടക്കുന്ന ആൾക്കാർക്ക് എപ്പോഴും ട്രാപ്പുകൾ, ബെയ്റ്റുകൾ നൽകിക്കൊണ്ട് ഈ ട്രാപ്പിലേക്ക് വീഴ്ത്താൻ ശ്രമിച്ചുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുന്ന ഒരു ലോകം, ഒരു വലിയൊരു എലിക്കൂട് അല്ലെ, എലിക്കെണി, ദാറ്റ് ഇസ് ദ റാറ്റ് ട്രാപ്പ്, എലിക്കെണി. ഓക്കെ, ഒരു വലിയൊരു എലിക്കെണിയാണ് ഈ ഒരു ലോകം എന്നാണ് അദ്ദേഹത്തിന്റെ തോട്ട് പോയത്. Obviously, right? Yeah? It offered riches and joys, shelter and food, heat and clothing, exactly as the rat trap offered cheese and pork. And as soon as anyone let himself be tempted to touch the bait, it closed in on him, and then everything came to an end. അപ്പൊ ഈ ലോകം നമ്മൾ ഇങ്ങനെയുള്ള ആൾക്കാർക്ക് നൽകുന്നത് എന്താണ്? ഒരു പ്രതീക്ഷയാണ്. റിച്ചസ് ആൻഡ് ജോയ്സ്, മെറ്റീരിയലിസ്റ്റിക് ആയിട്ടുള്ള തിങ്സ്. The materialistic things in this world, that is riches and joys, shelter and food, heat and clothing, all these things are baits. Just like people keep cheese and pork, meat, coconut, these are all baits. Just like that, shelter and food, uh, joy and riches, heat and clothing, all these things are baits. And people who follow these things gets trapped inside the rat trap or gets trapped inside this world just like a prey or just like a falls into a rat. ഒരു റാറ്റ് ട്രാപ്പിലേക്ക് അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഒരു എലിക്കണിയിലേക്ക് ഒരു എലി ചെന്ന് വീഴുന്നത് പോലെ ഇതിന് പിന്നാലെ ഓടുന്നവർ ലോകത്ത് ഉണ്ടാക്കി വെച്ചിരിക്കുന്ന എലിക്കണികളിൽ ചെന്ന് വീഴുകയാണ് എന്നാണ് അദ്ദേഹം പറയുന്നത്. That is his line of thought. These all things are tempting, very tempting. And after being tempted by these things, people run behind it and they fall into the rat trap set by the whole world. Sorry. And once he falls into it, the rat trap closes in on him, and then everything came to an end. അതിനുശേഷം എല്ലാം തീരുകയും. That is the line of thought that came to his mind. The world had, of course, never been very kind to him. The whole world, was never been very kind to him. Otherwise, if it was kind enough, he would not be in this present situation. That is what he was thinking. So it gave him unwanted joy. to think ill of it in this way. So he was a very negative person. He was thinking the world was a whole rat trap where riches and joys, shelter and food, heat and clothing, all these things are baits kept to trap an innocent person like him. Okay, who didn't have anything else to do. So it gave him unwanted, wanted. It is want. It's not wanted. Wanted, Allah. Wanted. Wanted. It is. Which means unwanted is a pretty old-fashioned word now, meaning something unusual or out of the ordinary. Nowadays, unwanted is a pretty unwanted word itself, out of the ordinary. Not to be confused as it often is with unwanted, meaning not wanted or desired. It's unwanted, out of the ordinary joy, extraordinary joy in thinking ill. Thinking ill means to think negatively about the whole world. Okay. So it gave an unwanted and an extra joy for him. Out of the ordinary joy for him, for the peddler or the rat trap seller to think ill, to think negatively about the world around him because the world was never kind to him. It didn't anything good to him at all. Okay. If he had if someone had done a single bit of good towards him, he would never have thought like that. That is what the author tells us. It became a cherished pastime of his. So this idea that the line of thought that came into his head while he was thinking about the rat traps, he started cherishing repeatedly. He started thinking about it, and it became a pastime for him, thinking about the world around him like that. It became a cherished pastime of his during many dreary ploddings to think of people he knew who had let themselves be caught in the dangerous snare and of others who were still circling around the tree. So people he knew that had got trapped inside this rat trap set by the whole world, started thinking about them and started thinking about the people who were trying to get into the trap. All these things he used to think about it. During his dreary, depressingly dull and bleak or repetitive, monotonous, another word for monotonous, dreary, okay, dreary ploddings, that is, dragging himself with much effort through the road, not walk. Walk is a casual steps taken to move forward. Walk. This is plodding, which is dragging himself, his weak, frail body. Okay. So during his dreary ploddings, in order to entertain himself, in order to amuse himself, he used to think about such things, about the people who has been trapped, about people who were going to be trapped by the materialistic things set out by the whole world. Okay, so themselves be caught in the dangerous snare. Snare means trap. Okay, a trap for catching birds or mammals, typically one having a noose of wire or cord. Same, rat trap. Okay, and of others who were still circling around the bait, and others who were still circling around the bait. കഴിക്കണോ വേണ്ടിയോ തിന്നണോ വേണ്ടിയോ എന്ന് ആലോചിച്ച് നടക്കുന്ന ആൾക്കാരെയും അവരെ പറ്റിയും ഓൾറെഡി ഈ ഒരു ചതിക്കുഴിയിൽ വീണവരെ പറ്റിയും ചിന്തിച്ചും രസിച്ചും പുള്ളി ജീവിതം മുമ്പോട്ടേക്ക് തള്ളി. One dark evening, as he was trudging along the road, he caught sight of a little grey cottage by the roadside, and he knocked on the door to ask shelter. Nor was he refused. Instead of the sore faces which ordinarily met him, the owner, who was an old man without wife or child, was happy to get someone to talk to in his loneliness. Immediately, he put the porridge pot on the fire and gave him supper. Then he carved off such a big slice from his tobacco roll that it was enough, both for the stranger's pipe and his own. Finally, he got out an old pack of cards and played Miolis with his guest until life was going on. Life was plodding on like this in the life of the rat trap peddler. Okay, I just show you the picture of the rat trap peddler. Okay, it's a drawing. This is the rat trap peddler in rags. Okay, worn out clothing. He's selling his rat traps to each and everyone. Okay, he's a peddler. Peddler. What is meant by a peddler? Okay, peddler nowadays it's a hawker. Okay, just a person who goes house to house to sell things. Okay, സെയിൽസ്മാൻ എന്നൊക്കെ പറയുന്നത് പോലെയാണ് പെഡ്ലർ എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. പക്ഷെ ഇപ്പോ അത് ആ ഒരു വാക്കിന് വേറൊരു മീനിങ് ആണ്. ഓക്കെ, ഇപ്പൊ ആ വാക്കിന് വേറൊരു മീനിങ് ആണ്. പെഡ്ലർ എന്ന് ഡ്രഗ് പെഡ്ലർ, അൺലോഫുൾ ആയിട്ട് സെൽ ചെയ്യുന്ന ഒരു വ്യക്തിയാണ് പെഡ്ലർ എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. ലോഫുള്ളി അല്ലാതെ അൺലോഫുൾ ആയിട്ട് കാര്യങ്ങൾ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ സാധനങ്ങൾ വിൽക്കുന്ന വ്യക്തിയാണ് പെഡ്ലർ എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. ഓക്കെ, ഇറ്റ്സ് എ റാറ്റ് ട്രാപ്പ് പെഡ്ലർ. ഓക്കെ ഓക്കെ അപ്പോ റാറ്റ് ട്രാപ്പ് പെഡ്ലർ. Then so he was plodding along his life when suddenly one dark evening, as he was trudging along the road, trudging, plodding, everything means the same. Okay, walk slowly and with heavy steps, typically because of exhaustion or harsh conditions. One dark evening, as he was trudging along the road, he caught sight of a little grey cottage by the roadside, and he knocked on the door to ask shelter for the night. So he doesn't have he is a vagabond. We already know that, right? He doesn't have a home or a job to sustain his life and give him shelter. So he used different methods. In Western countries and all, what happens is you go and ask a house, and if they are willing, they will give you place to sleep. Okay. Over here too, he found a cottage near the roadside, and he knocked on the door to ask shelter for the night. Usually, he was not given any shelter. People shooed him away. Okay. Nor was he refused. But here, it was the just opposite. He was not refused. He was welcomed inside by the old man living in the cottage. Instead of the sore faces, sore. What is meant by sore? Sore എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞു കഴിഞ്ഞാല് പുളിപ്പ് എന്നാണ് അല്ലെ. പുളിപ്പ് എന്ന് പറയുമ്പോൾ മുഖം എങ്ങനെ ഇരിക്കും? If you eat something sore, how will your face be? Right? Sore faces. Instead of the sore faces, which means bad tempered and unfriendly. This is not a friendly face, right? Like this. Like if you eat a tamarind, if you bite a ripe or a ripe mango, or അല്ലെ ഒരു പച്ചമാങ്ങ കഴിച്ചാൽ എങ്ങനെ ഇരിക്കും? Like that. Sore faces. Instead of the sore faces which ordinarily met him when he goes and knocks on doors asking for help, usually he is greeted by such faces. People don't like him coming into their houses. Sorry. Bad tempered they will be, and unfriendly they will be. The owner of the cottage was not so. Who was an old man without wife or children. ഒരു മക്കളോ ഭാര്യയോ ഒന്നും ഇല്ലാത്തൊരു വ്യക്തിയാണ്. There is a point. There is a point over there. Okay, made by the author. This man, he didn't have anyone else. Just like the rat trap peddler, he didn't have anyone to share his thoughts or his sadness. He was living alone. This old man also was living alone. So suddenly, one fine night, he finds a person knocking on his door and asking for shelter. For long, he has been deprived of his wife and children. So he was alone, and there was no one to share his sorrow or his thoughts or his day. Suddenly, found a person standing on his doorstep. He was really happy. The old man, without wife or child, was happy to get someone to talk to in his loneliness. അദ്ദേഹത്തിന്റെ ഒറ്റപ്പെട്ട ജീവിതത്തിനിടയിലേക്ക് ഒരു വ്യക്തി കടന്നു വന്നിരിക്കുകയാണ്. അദ്ദേഹത്തിന് കുറച്ചു നേരമെങ്കിലും ഒന്ന് സംസാരിച്ചു തിരിക്കാനായിട്ട് ഒരു വ്യക്തി കടന്നു വന്നിരിക്കുകയാണ് അദ്ദേഹത്തിന്റെ ജീവിതത്തിലേക്ക്. ഏകാന്തമായ അദ്ദേഹത്തിന്റെ ജീവിതത്തിലേക്ക് ഒരു വ്യക്തി കടന്നു വന്നിരിക്കുന്നു. Immediately he put the porridge. വേറെ ഒന്നും നോക്കിയില്ല. He didn't wait for anyone else. He started immediately went to the stove and put on the porridge pot on the fire and gave him supper. Okay, without asking, gave him supper. And then what did he do? He carved off such a big slice from his tobacco roll that it was enough both for the stranger's pipe and his own. Sharing one's tobacco in the old days, it was considered to be very friendly thing. Sharing a tobacco. Okay. Nowadays, we don't find such things. Sharing tobacco and all. In the old days, tobacco. What is a tobacco? It's a leaf, right? Tobacco is a leaf. Okay, I'll just share what is a porridge and what is a tobacco. Everything I'll share it for your reference. Porridge. നമ്മുടെ നാട്ടില് കഞ്ഞി എന്ന് പറയും. പാൽ കഞ്ഞി. അതിനെയാണ് porridge. Okay. Oatmeal. Okay. It's a breakfast thing. Okay. This is a very lavish porridge, by the way. All fruits and berries and nuts and all these things. These are sunflower nuts. Then there is hazelnut. Then there are several things inside the berries. This is blackberries there. Then red berries there. Then grapes are there. Honey has been poured into this. Oh, very rich it is. And this is made of oatmeals. Oatmeals are cooked in milk and very fatty milk and made into a porridge. Okay. Palkani. Haven't you heard about palkani? If not, ask your parents, your mother especially, make you. So this is a porridge. Okay. So you got a word for kanji. It's a porridge. Okay. A type of porridge. Usually it's made of wheat, barn, oatmeals, rice. Okay. Because in Asian countries, rice is a staple food. You don't eat meat and other things very much. Ours is rice, so we make porridge with rice. Western countries, rice is not that familiar. For them, it is oatmeals, barley, barn, like that. So they make with that. Okay, flakes, corn. They make it cornflakes. So such things they make it with that. Okay, see, if the method is similar, the ingredients are different. Okay, so this is a porridge. Now tobacco. This is tobacco leaf. Okay, tobacco leaf. It's a plant, and they collect leaves and they dry it, and they mince it into small pieces. Okay. So rolls, if you call a roll, what they will do is they will collect several tobacco leaves and roll it into a big bundle and sell it. The old days it was sold like that. Okay. Nowadays, selling of tobacco leaves is prohibited, I think. Okay, it is not supposed to be sold like that. I don't know. Oh, I think so. Okay, I don't know for sure. So in the old days it was like that. The roll, and they have to carve in order to make. They themselves made for smoking. Smoking was a habit for most of the old people in those days. So it was a routine. for these old people to smoke after having your lunch, breakfast, and dinner. Okay, to have these smoke a pipe. So sharing one's tobacco is considered to be very good thing. If you share a tobacco with another person, you are very friendly towards them. Considered to be. Okay, over here, what the old man did is immediately after he was ushered inside his house, the rat trap seller was given porridge, and also he was shared with a slice of the tobacco too. Okay, and he sliced from his tobacco roll that it was enough both for the stranger's pipe and his own. Okay, finally he got out an old pack of cards and played Miolis or Majolis with his guest until bedtime. Miolis is a type of a card game, just like Rummy, Ace, Teen Pati, and all over here, right? Gulan എന്നൊക്കെ പറയുന്നത് പോലെ ഒരു കാർഡ് ഗെയിമാണ്. ഇറ്റ് ഇസ് എ കാർഡ് ഗെയിം ഇൻ സ്വീഡൻ. ഓക്കെ, ഒരു സ്വീഡിഷ് കാർഡ് ഗെയിമാണ് മ്യോളിസ് എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. It's pronounced in two different ways. It's either Mjolnir because the J in Mjolnir is Ya. I have told you this before too. It is not Juventus, it is Juventus. Football club, it is written Ventus, right? The spelling is Juventus. It is, if you are going by the letters, it is supposed to be pronounced as Juventus, but it is not Juventus, it is Juventus, right? Same way, J over here is pronounced as Ya. Mjolis it is, but it is also pronounced as Majolis. Jolis is also there. Okay, Jolis. You have to start from like that, not Jolis, but Jolis. Okay, you have to keep your lips closed. Closey, it is Jolis with his guest until it's a type of a card game where they used to play in Sweden. Okay, so which means it's a very friendly atmosphere. He's creating a friendly atmosphere for the peddler, the stranger. He doesn't know the stranger at all. This old man doesn't know the stranger at all. If he's a killer, doesn't think about it. Old times were such. A person who has been living his life full in a lonely state suddenly finds a person knocking at his door in a VR is very much happy to bring him in to his house. He gives him shelter, provides him food, comfort, and also shares his tobacco, and also starts to play card games. So he is welcomed, a good gesture. The old man showed him good gesture. The old man was just as generous with his confidences as with his porridge and tobacco. The guest was informed at once that in his days of prosperity, his host had been a crofter at Ramsio Ironworks and had worked on the land. Now that he was no longer able to do day labor, it was his cow which supported him. Yes, that Bossy was extraordinary. She could give milk for the creamery every day, and last month he had received all of 30 krona in pay. He was very generous with his porridge and tobacco. He didn't ask any questions. Why did you come over here? Why are you at my doorstep at this time of the hour or time of the day? Huh? Who told you to come over here? He didn't ask any such questions. He welcomed him inside, made him very comfortable. He provided him with porridge. He provided him with a slice of his tobacco too. So he was very generous towards the rat trap seller. But he was also generous with his confidences, his secrets. Okay. The telling of private matters or secrets with mutual trust. He was very open towards this stranger about his secrets too. The guest was informed or was told by the old man at once that in his days of prosperity, that was when he was very young, his host had been a crofter. Crofter എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ എന്താണ്? Small rented farm, especially one in Scotland, comprising a plot of arable land attached to a house and with a long attached to a house and with the right of pasturage held in common with other such farms. പാട്ടത്തിന് നിലമെടുത്ത് കൃഷി ചെയ്യുക എന്നുള്ളൊരു സംഭവം. സ്ഥലം നമ്മുടേതായിരിക്കില്ല. നമ്മളൊരു പങ്ക് മുതലാളിക്ക് കൊടുത്താൽ മാത്രം മതി. നമ്മൾ എന്ത് ചെയ്യും? അവിടെ ഒരു വീട് വയ്ക്കുന്നു. ആ നിലത്ത് നമ്മൾ കൾട്ടിവേറ്റ് ചെയ്യും, കൃഷി ഇറക്കും. പാട്ടത്തിന് നിലമെടുക്കുക എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് പണ്ട് കാലങ്ങളിൽ ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു. ഇപ്പോഴും ഉണ്ട് പല സ്ഥലങ്ങളിലും, തമിഴ്നാട്ടിലും കേരളത്തിലും എല്ലാം ഉണ്ട്. ഇവിടെ തന്നെ പാട്ടത്തിന് നമ്മൾ എന്തെടുക്കും? ഏലക്കാട്, ഏലത്തോട്ടം നമ്മൾ പാട്ടത്തിനെടുക്കും. നമ്മൾ കൃഷി ഇറക്കുന്നു, നമ്മൾ കൊയ്യുന്നു, നമ്മൾ ഒരു നിശ്ചിത തുക ആ ഒരു ഉടമസ്ഥന് കൊടുക്കുന്നു, അല്ലേ? പാട്ടത്തിന് നിലനിൽക്കും. ദാറ്റ് ഇസ് കോൾഡ് ക്രോഫ്റ്റ്. ഓക്കെ, എസ്പെഷ്യലി ഇൻ സ്കോട്ട്ലൻഡ് എന്നാണ് പറയുന്നത്. പക്ഷെ മറ്റുള്ള സ്ഥലങ്ങളിലും നടക്കുന്നുണ്ട് ഇത്. സോ സ്കോട്ട്ലൻഡിൽ മാത്രമല്ല, ഇറ്റ്സ് continued in different places. This is in Sweden. It's happening in Sweden. So he was a crofter. The old man in his heydays was a crofter. Okay. The guest was informed at once that in his days of prosperity, his host, the guest host, that is the old man, who had been a crofter at Ramsey's ironworks. He used to work in the land adjacent to Ramsey Ironworks. So Ramsey Ironworks was one of the biggest industries, ironwork industry in that area. Okay, so he was working with the person. He had taken the land for lease from the owner of Ramsey Ironworks and had worked on the land. But now he was no longer able to do day labor. He was very old and he couldn't do day labor. It was his cow which supported him. So he has a cow. Okay. So now this cow was supporting the old man. And yes, that bossy was extraordinary. Bossy means cow. Okay. Or calf. It's a archaic usage nowadays. Bossy. If you have a cow in your house, tell your mom, is bossy okay today? She will go crazy. Bossy. Nowadays, bossy means to overpower someone under you. Okay. Like overbearing or bossing around, right? But bossy boss what happens if you work somewhere and there is a manager or a boss and he will try to boss you around, which means he's giving you orders and making you do things that you don't like. That is called boss. Okay, negative word it is. So here, but the bossy means the cow. Yes, that bossy was extraordinary. So it was an extraordinary cow. In what sense? She could give milk for the creamery every day. Every day it was able to give milk to the creamery. Creamery is just like Milma and Malanadu over here. It's like creamery means a place where milk is collected and changed into different products. Okay. So he used to give the milk that the cow provided and he used to go and sell it in the creamery. Okay. He could give milk for the creamery every day, and last month he had received all of 30 kroner in payment. That is what he says. 30 kroner. Kroner എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ എന്താണ്? What is meant by kroner? Kroner എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ it's the currency in Sweden. Okay. Currency in Sweden is called a krona. Krona or kroner. This is the currency in Sweden. Okay. Kroner. See, it's written kroner over. Krona. Krona എന്നാണ് international market. Okay. But for Sweden, it is krona. Okay. 30 kronas. So everything that is happening in his life, the old man is belching out, or he's saying everything that is happening in his life to the person, the stranger who has come to his doorstep one fine evening. Okay. He doesn't know who that person is or what kind of a person that is. He is not judging that person at all from its looks. He met a person and he is very friendly towards him because he was leading a very lonely life. There was no one in his life to share his thoughts and pains and sorrows or his beliefs. He just found a person one fine evening and he welcomed with his open arms and heart, invited that person into his house and gave him things to eat, a smoke, and also he shared his thoughts, his deep secrets, even his wealth. He talked about his wealth. He got 30 kronos the other day from the creamery by selling the milk that his dear beloved cow was providing him. Okay, so everything he shared without any stranger. Rat cell. So, how the rat trap cell reciprocates, we will see in the next lesson. Okay, next. Thank you very much. I'll be posting you 5 questions after the video. Okay, do attend the questions and send in the answers. Okay, don't forget that. Okay, thank you very much. Have a nice day. Stay safe, stay healthy. Bye bye.